Hello. Hello. Good evening for everyone, and good morning for myself. and and thank you for Professor Dasher that gives me my brief introduction and really nice introduction. And from now on, I would like to introduce you something and some activity and something that concerns in our research team in TISTR. And today, the achievement in outdoor microalgae oil cultivation and other R&D at TISTA Algal Excellence Center will introduce and show you something that we have done. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, just the scope of the talking today is who we are and why and how we worked and what we have and the thing that we try to deliver. Next slide, please. And we are Thailand Institute of Scientific and Technology Research. We have many locations. We try to initiate a very nice R&D research. Our headquarters is in Tulane, and we already have our scalar research biosphere, and also we serve for industrial. We have the industrial meteorology and testing service center in the south of Bangkok.
So we're in the center of the picture.
Yeah. And we are working under the Ministry of Science, and I belong to the Bioscience Department. Okay.
Okay. So, okay, you have this.
The TISTR background, we established in 1963. We are non-profit state enterprise under the Ministry of Science, and we initiate the conduct and R&D to provide S&T service for industrial. Especially, we are try to do integrate R&D on freshwater microalgae from upstream to the downstream. Okay.
We have moved on to slide, I think the next slide with atmospheric CO2 in the bottom right, bottom left.
Bottom left. The next slide.
And then one more slide, please. Good.
Next one.
And the next one, please. So certainly for everyone there, we will post these slides on our website. So you'll be able to see the original slides within a day or two.
Okay. This is we try to state that why we work. I think we are the first humankind that live under 400 ppm carbon dioxide atmosphere, and we have the trouble about the unstable Earth, and many people try to do on the renewable energy in many ways, and however we success some and not success some, and on the year of 2015, UN has launched some sustainable development goal that we adopt to our aim of our research in the algae research team in TISTA also.
Can I ask you a more detailed question about this global trends in the bottom right?
Yeah.
This is really how TISTR sees the trends in the oil and gas industry, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next slide.
Yes. And down to, we just talk down to the regional, I mean, Southeast Asian and Thailand trend. Thailand tried to adopt the policy of the alternative energy development. We launched we call AEDP, Alternative Energy Development Plan. That launched last year and will be further on 2036. We have aim. We will try to use 30% of renewable energy within the next 15 years. And along with the economic trend, we need to emphasize the bioeconomy, the creative economy, digital economy, and social economy also. And however, under the policy and the economy trend, we have to find the proper technology to aim to reach that point. And TISTR is one of the research institute that try to utilize the technology of algae technology.
Okay, thank you. So next slide.
Next slide. And what can the algae technology can do for Thailand or for sustainable bioeconomy? In Thailand, the government has launched the new engine of the growth we call 10 target industrial that to push our economic further. We aim the industrial cluster of biochemicals and down to the biochemical. I think algae has the most potential to have the huge value chain from the seed of the algae until the customer product. And on the left hand of the slide, we try to show some product, some innovation of our technology, such as we can produce the protein from the algae that cost is around for 3,000 baht per kilo. We can produce the pigment from the algae, especially Thailand or agricultural country. We do have any active compound. I think surprisingly, algae can make you many active compounds, such as agroactive compound, fungicidal, um, insecticidal, herbicidal, or even plant regulators.
So Dr. Sirisattha, is that why TISTR decided to put so much emphasis into algae-related research?
Yeah.
Because there are many applications?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So next slide.
Next slide. And this slide we try to show what we have. We have fund, I think around 8 million USD, because we are the biggest algae culture collection in Thailand. We have more than 1,000 algae strain in our collection. We have our own research. We have our biotechnology, and we have our engineering team. In the middle of this picture, you can see our models, but it's become real because in the next year we will move to work in our new building. This building aims to be an open research center. If you need to do something about algae, you can come here and we can talk together, we can discuss, and we can share something because government already funding some infrastructure. We need any guy who interested in algae and we can do the research together. And the picture on the up right hand, we have our facility of the outdoor wasteway cultivation. The scale is around 400 cubic meters.
So actually, I visited the racetrack facility up in the upper right hand of this slide, and it's very impressive that you will have the algae being grown and being evaluated and measured in this facility.
Yeah.
But I noticed that it's an open air facility.
Yeah.
Is that a difficulty? Does that make it difficult to keep the algae pure?
Yes, by this way, it has pro and con, and because the advantage is we can cultivate the algae at the lower cost, but we had to try hard to collect the algae that's suitable to the open air. But we can, because we have huge amount of culture collection. We can screen the our our champion stain. That durability in the outdoor, the performance is quite best. We don't, and that's why we have already no problem about the contamination from others.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Next slide.
Next slide. This is our past how to say past activity or past success story. We have start our culture collection in 1995, and we already launched our technology transfer and services to the industrial to the companies during 2004 to 2010, and we gained the big funding budget from the biggest oil company in Thailand. We call PTT. PTT try to establish some group that research group we call Think Algae. Think Algae try to establish the new technology of algae cultivation for oil or other product. Okay, and since 2012, we gain the budget for making some open research center, as I told you, and we during the year of 2015 or last year, we expand our facility to reserve or to prepare for marine algae also, and our aim, our ultimate goal, we try to push our product or try to invent some process innovation for the industrial.
Okay. I think this is important because it shows that TISTR is not only doing more or less basic research,
Yes.
but is also doing technology transfer to really make sure that the output can be used by Thai industry.
Yes.
Okay. Next slide.
Yes, thank you. And this slide show our technology network and how we work on the innovation on the third generation biofuel. If I said third generation biofuel, it means the biofuel from the algae. Of course, we play our strategy pass through our excellence center. We have huge amount of the algal resource that we are keeping collection on every day. We have our biotechnology team that try to invent or try to research many methodology to improve the quality of algae in terms of growth or production. And we have our own engineering team who build our dream come true. Because I'm a biotechnologist, I cannot do some machine. That's why we have our nice team for engineering, and we also have many good friends across the world. We have our nice team in Thailand. That's why we can produce such a nice research in algae research in TISTR.
Can you tell me a little more about on the bottom left, you have multidisciplinary collaboration.
Yes.
What is this Think Algae program?
What is Think Algae program? Think Algae program is the group of the people from National Institute from the top university in Thailand try to get together, discussion, and sharing funding to research in the innovation of the algae technologies. Yeah.
Okay. Next slide.
Yes. This is the role of R&D in the third generation biofuel. It means we collect or we select the best strain that can perform outdoor it quite well. And I think we got the very best fast growing strain in the world. And our strain can obtain oil 30 or 40% of dry weight. And after that, we try to optimize the best condition in terms of cost of cultivation in outdoor scale. And we develop the pilot scale production from batch culture to automatically control large scale. And of course, after we got the crude oil, we send to the PTT companies that can purify or do something about the crude oil. Of course, we got some biojet, and I think I'm not sure in the near future or not, but I'm certainly sure we will find the plane that energy by the biojet from algae in the future.
So if I've got the process correct,
Yeah.
you select an algae strain, grow it.
Yeah.
then you dry it.
Not dry.
Not dry.
Not dry. We have.
This is just removed from the water that it grew in.
Yes.
And then from that, you do batch processing, essentially refining oil from the algae.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then there are various possibilities for output. We'll talk about those in a minute.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yes.
Oops. There we go.
This is our, how to say, I'm not sure I can say this is innovation or not, but we try hard to make this. This is not the cartoon picture, it's the real one in TISTR. We try to combine 10 ponds, that each pond contains around 20 tons of cultivation. We call continuous raceway pond. We connect each pond together by the pipeline, and from the slide, we clone the algae at the first pond and let the algae slowly.
So that's down at the bottom.
This is the first pond.
Okay.
And this is the first pond. Up
at the top.
Yeah, up at the top is the first pond.
Where the algae is first growing.
The algae will grow continuously to the second pond, like the slow water speed, and the algae grown day by day until the 7th day at the 7th pond. And then the algae accumulate the maximum of the oil content in the cell. We remove or we dewatering the algae, and we reclaim water to cultivate algae again. And we send the algae slurry or algae sludge to the cell disruption system that we have invented to breaking the cell, because the oil is containing inside
the algae. This is down in the bottom right of bottom left of the slide.
And then sent to the extraction process. And what is the ultimate goal of this plant? This plant can reclaim water again and again. You don't throw the water or get rid of the water. After we dewatering, the dewater can reclaim and cultivate algae again. We calculate by the ion chromatography and some computer program, and adding the absorbed nutrients that algae use to produce the biomass. That's why this process can produce the oil continuously and produce the biomass continuously.
So you say each one of the tracks can hold 20 tons?
Yes.
So that means that if it takes about a week in each of the tracks?
No, only 1 day.
1 day in each track? Okay, so you can produce 20 tons per week?
Yeah.
And okay.
Per day.
Per day.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yes, per day. Got it. Okay. Next slide.
Yes. And this is some data of our plant, and I will not deep in the detail, but from our preliminary data, we can gain the top right box per day. We can gain the crude oil around 4 kilograms, and we have the weight left over around 30 kilograms that can be produced some fertilizer or some feedstock also after we remove the hexane already.
So the leftovers can be used for fertilizer. They can be used for other purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
Next
slide. And hold on just a second. Up at the top of the this is it. Right.
And
nope. That one. That's it. Nope. Next slide. That's it.
After the stage of the cultivation, we gain some data, and we gain some weak point that we have to develop, because we cultivate in the open air. We facing some crop failure sometimes. We have to do more about the heavy inoculum. That's why the first we try to invent more for inoculum, and we try to create some new open raceway pond by the fiberglass reinforced. It's the blue pond that can maintain at the low pH in some case if we need to maintain the pH of the cultivation. And also we invent another technology we call upfold thin layer cultivation system, because I think if you are the algae guy in the conventionally cultivation, we cultivate the algae only 0.5 meter or 50 centimeter depth. Nobody try to cultivate 1.2 meter deep, but we try because if we succeed, we can multiply the biomass and in the same area, maybe 3 times more. But we have to come over the engineering technology because we need to bring the algae to the light. That's why I will explain more in the next slide. And we challenge the new state that has very high performance for multi-state or extraction system. And of course, we try to solve the energy consumption by we install the polar voltaic or solar cell in our control room. And this energy will be utilized as the air bubble or maintain the cultivation of the algae at night or during the daytime in laboratory.
Okay, so I want to point out that the economics of this kind of algae production are very important. That's one reason it almost has to be open air.
Yeah.
Because even if it had to be within an enclosed environment, there's no way commercially you could do this in a cost-effective way.
Yes.
And the same thing is how much you can grow per cubic meter. By doing this at a 1.2 meter depth, you're able to do much more production than other people would.
Yeah, because
with a much shallower pond or whatever.
Yes, yes.
Because I have seen these huge algae ponds that are only about 30 centimeters deep.
Yeah.
But
it looks crazy, but scientifically, I'm tried.
Right. And ultimately, it won't be commercial. The photovoltaic you're using to regulate temperature mostly?
Yes.
Okay, and that's so that at night the temperature does not drop?
No, not
or is it to keep it cool during the day? What's the regulation? You're using the solar energy to
bubbling the algae cultivation during the night.
Okay, to keep the movement in the pond.
Yeah, we do not control the temperature of the cultivation of the algae at all.
Got it. Okay, this is keeping the motion going.
Yeah, sir.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Next slide. This is the upflow.
Yeah, this is the upflow. Because I think if we need to cultivate the algae more deeply in pond, we have two strategies. The first one, try to solve in biological way. That means you need to metabolic engineer and bring the algae or the chain the algae from inside to have the fast or high efficiency for light catching. But if you don't do that, I select the way of engineering solve, because if we do with if we solve this problem by the engineering strategy, I may have many people get together to help me. In this case, we develop with some companies to make the low consumption energy pump that can pump the algae oil at the rate of 30 tons per hour and consume a little bit of energy consumption. And on the right top, we show the picture of translation of how this system works.
And this system was developed at TISTR?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next slide.
Yes, next slide. And this is how the system works. We have the pipeline for aspirate the algae into the pump, and during the daytime, the algae flow and in the double layer of the pond, and from that is my hand. and it is a concentration of the algae. It's quite high. If you working with algae, you will realize that it is a very high concentration. And why we do like it? The reason behind, when the algae clone and optical density is allow 0.5, uh, the light penetration is quite hard. That's why we try to move the algae out of the pond to expose to the sunlight in the thin layer of the double storage pond. Okay.
So you just put your hand down into the water and scooped up this algae, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious at this point, do you work with one strain of algae typically for several weeks or several months?
Yeah.
How often do you have to totally clean up the entire system and switch to a new type of algae?
No. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we try hard for select the best strain that can.
And that's done in the laboratory before you get out here and grow.
No.
No.
Our strategy, if we need to go outdoor, we send everything outdoor first, and we select the survival, get back into the lab to
then bring the sample back.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why that make us sure one we throw it away in the outdoor, it can happy.
But like a lot of research and development facilities, if you're using different kinds of algae, it must be really hard to clean this up and switch between one and the next. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Next slide.
Next slide is it. This is another system. We try to use the plastic tube because we aim to accelerate the algae biomass by the injection of the carbon dioxide. If I injection the carbon dioxide in such system, we can capture or we can force the carbon dioxide dissolve in the liquid media along the way of the open pond, right? That's why. But it's not so work well at this time because we're facing with the biofilm occur during the experiment. But I think it's quite nice for apply the carbon dioxide.
Okay. Let's move on. Next is.
This is just a picture that I try to show everyone how this system works. Okay.
Next slide.
And switch to the mode of the collaboration. We are not only for basic research. We collaboration. We do the contact research with the company also, with national and internationally. In Thailand, we do the contact research with the PTT group, the biggest oil company in Thailand, to develop the bioalgae oil, and we dealing with the Mali group, the biggest Jewish company. Because why Jewish company concerned with the algae? Because they have their own wastewater treatment plant, and they need to utilize that wastewater to become some feeding or their feeding stock.
So feedstock for chemical production or for food for animals?
For animals.
Okay.
For animals. Okay. And in academically, we collaborate with major university, try to develop the tool of genetic and metabolic engineer that can engineer the native strain of the algae. I think everyone know the green algae is quite hard to engineer because it cannot accept the foreign DNA into the cell. And we also collaborate with the Denso company in Japan. Denso is the part of the Toyota company.
Yeah, Denso is one of the biggest parts and system suppliers to Toyota.
Yes.
So I can kind of guess what application they're interested in. Okay. Next slide.
And this is what we do for PTT, but I cannot say this much because this is some investigate project. But we try to emphasize something. PTT try to seek the high value product along the algae technology also, and of course they try to invent some carbon dioxide injection technology that can be utilized the carbon dioxide effluent from the petroleum industry, and they believe in the cultivation technique that we try to do it for them.
Will the algae actually consume a lot of CO2?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Not
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
So denso.
Denso is just
Next slide.
just
Next slide.
this is just our collaboration. If when we work with Denso try to encourage us to work, and they try to do everything that make this technology fruitfully, and all of them always visit us. I'm very proud and very pressure for pressure means stress, not not happy. Because I'm a researcher.
Yes, the challenge of many visitors.
Yeah. This line mean I try to show all of you how much I stress.
Okay.
Next slide.
Frequently stressed.
Okay, and this is our friend and alive, and across the world, many company, many people try to do more and keep going on algae technology for even other product or biofuel, and such as the Ukraine company that try to collaborate.
Actually, I was going to ask you about Utlana because they were a startup company.
Yeah.
I knew their founder when he was a student. He
Yeah.
came to Stanford for an entrepreneurship summit.
Yeah.
And they recently went public in Japan.
Yeah.
And have really had a difficult time. But so are they interested in your work? Are they cooperating? Once
they come, they discuss
Okay.
with us. They see
Okay.
everything, and maybe someday in the next future.
Okay.
And ISI also. ISI is like a Mitsubishi company.
Right.
ISI is a very huge industrial company.
Trading company, right?
Yes, and they do the same or do the similar way like them. So, but I cannot tell you that much.
Right. Okay. So we'll move to the next slide.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that I seem to be the people who have many secrets.
Well, but that's a good sign for industrial cooperation. The companies never want you to talk.
Okay. Maybe on the last two slides. This slide I try to emphasize. Of course, we try to elevate the algae to industrial, and this is our past story. We transfer the technology to some company to make the biofertilizer, the living fertilizer, the living algae that can fix the nitrogen into the from the air into the ground, and some soil conditioner, the algae that can produce the polysaccharide that keep moisture content in the soil. And of course, maybe hopefully that Professor Dasher come to TISTR in next year. I will show you some our innovation about edible Gnostic Balls. We try to develop I call the algae caviars.
Okay.
The algae ball, the tiny algae ball. This is the man-made algae. This is technology. You cannot find this algae in the nature.
Right.
Okay. We try to push this some innovation for serve the food Innopolis.
Yeah.
And in the past, we have established the Thai industrial standard for water resistant emulsion paint, because in Thailand we are the moisture atmosphere country. Every paint will facing with the algae penetrate.
So this edible food would be very high protein. What would be the advantages?
Yes, very high protein.
Okay. And also, if you're growing it as part of another process,
yes,
it's rather efficient.
Yes.
Okay. Are these things going to be sweet or what?
No, it's not so sweet, but it seems like the jelly ball, but the food, but it fulfilled with the protein and very naturally.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. So next slide.
Next slide. I think this is maybe the last slide of my presentation. This to show what our idea about the technology and close product value chain. Of course, along of my presentation, I try to show you we have three more important factors. The first one, we have our own resources and we keep going to collect more algae. We have the active algae by the biotechnology research. We have our cultivation technology. That three factors can make you more things, more invention on technology. On left hand side, we try to make super fertilizer. I mean, next generation biofertilizer. The fertilizer that not only fix the nitrogen from the air, but also provide some polysaccharide, keep the soil more moisture, and also in the same way, they can give some plant hormone or regulators along that fertilizer. And if we share something like this by use the combination of the algae stain, I think we can gain super fertilizer that environmental friendly or something. Okay, this is the left hand side, and on the right hand side, because of Thailand is an agricultural based country, uh, we focus to have the next generation of aquafish. Aquafish means it's not ordinarily fish stock for the fish, but it delivers some functional protein, the pigment for coloring the pigment in the fish, and they have to promote immunogenicity of the fish and get fish more healthy. This is just this is the next focus of our research center in terms of biofertilizer and aquafish stock for serve Thailand economy.
So this is great. Is this pretty much your presentation? Or is this the last slide?
Yes, the last slide.
One more.
One more.
Nope, that's it. I think. Oh, there we are. The thank you slide.
Yeah.
So while we move, take the slides off and show our picture again, I think that it would be useful. Let me ask a couple of questions with regard to who your competitors are. Who are other organizations that are doing this same kind of research?
We in Thailand, we almost no competitors. No one needs to compete with TISTR. Maybe
yeah.
Okay. Yes. In the field.
And TISTR is obviously attracting international attention because of this research. You know, when the big companies like Denso want to come to you and find out what you're doing, that also means that you've established kind of an international center of expertise in this. I'm curious about the technology transfer out. So from this stage, what would the next step be? Would you have plants, small-scale plants in different parts of Thailand, or what would you do?
Because if you need to invest in this technology, you need to consider about the location first.
Right.
That's why I think that the next step, maybe the company try to invest some plant in Thailand.
And when you say location, what kind of location does it need to be?
If you work with algae, three things. You need sunlight. That means the location along the tropical zone, around the Gulf. We need to have a little bit or much enough of water. Second, and the third is if that location are agricultural country, that should be nice because fertilizer is very nice for supply the nutrient to the algae.
Right. So do you have people at TISTR who are going out into the forests and out into the jungle and trying to find new algae?
Of course.
Okay, so that's part of the research too.
Yeah, if you need to go with me next month, I will go to Thailand to select more.
I don't think I'll wear a business suit for that.
This is the way we maintain our potential. We always collect, we always seeking the new strain into our collections.
Okay, and with regard to what happens after you take the algae out of the racetrack plant, you have a series of basically processing equipment inside TISTR that you're actually making biodiesel and biofuel of various sorts. Are you're actually doing all the processing to the end product, right? And how do you see which products are important? Are you looking at mostly jet, or are you looking at diesel for trucks, or what do you think will be the driving applications?
The driving application should be jet.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Partly because we're seeing more electric vehicles, right? Although here in Thailand, one of the things I've noticed are trucks that have lots of canisters of compressed natural gas. So these are big trucks, and they have a rack of 16 to 20 big natural gas tubes.
It look nice or look.
They look nice, but they look impressive. But I'm curious if this would be cost competitive for a truck. Trucking to have biodiesel.
We have to fly high.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so, basic question about biofuel. First generation was based on sugars. Especially from corn sugar. That was done a lot in Brazil. What was really the second generation of biofuel? If algae is the third generation, what's in between?
I think it's cellulosic technology.
Cellulose technology? Okay. And of course, that's been very difficult to make cost effective. I think that one of the issues is the energy required to produce the biofuel versus the energy that you get from the biofuel. Does algae stand up well in terms of, if you've got natural sources of energy that make the algae grow?
Not so well now.
Not so well.
Not so well now. But we have to research more. That's why we need to do something along with the biofuel from algae. We need to seek more co-process and co-production. And in our next month, we try to invent. We try to extract the high value first, and then we got the oil. We need to extract the protein and pigment before, and let the oil production just a byproduct.
Okay, I see. So other products would be the main product, and then the fuel would be the byproduct. Okay. Again, efficiency. Brianna, why don't you turn the computer around and let's look at people in the audience and open the floor to questions. What do we have for questions? Anybody? Brianna, I'm going to ask you to make sure that you recognize the people asking.
Hello? I'm interested.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, I'm interested in how you I'm interested in how you deal with weather variation from drought to monsoons in terms of algae production.
Okay. So the question is how you deal with variation in the weather between the dry season and the wet season in algae production.
We select the best thing. That because I think we cannot control the weather condition. We try to pay more and working hard for the strain selection. The strain that can tolerate all weather all year round. Our criteria for this.
So the key is really the strain of algae.
Yeah.
That you have something that can deal with either weather pattern.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess those algae exist. Are you doing much genetic engineering of the algae?
Not so much, because
Okay.
we have we have the obstacle of the
Right.
genetic transfers. But
Right.
we still keep going on this, because someday in the future, if we cannot emphasize or cannot production outdoor as well, we will move
Right.
to genetic.
Okay. Okay. But of course, that involves an entire new set of safety standards and
Of course,
and so
of course.
Right.
In our laboratory, we have the closed system for test.
Okay. Okay. Great. Next question.
Yes, the question is, are you aware of there's a laboratory in China, in Shenzhen? They're doing the same thing, cultivated algae and trying to get oil out of the algae.
So, Bevan, can I ask you a little bit more about this laboratory in Shenzhen? Is it a university laboratory or an independent government laboratory or a company laboratory?
It's, I think it's both. And I only contacted them a few years ago, and they said it's very difficult to get the oil out from the algae. The amount of energy put into it, it's not even worth the oil come out.
Yeah. Yes.
So first of all, about this group in Shenzhen, do you know them?
Yeah. You mean Professor Chen Hu?
Okay.
Yeah. I think China also has invent on this technology and try to keep move on this research. But I think the geological of China is not suitable for growing the algae, even in the southern of China also.
So it's too cold in winter?
Yeah, I think too cold.
Okay. And what about this comment from the professor in China that it's too difficult to get the oil from the algae?
It's not too difficult to get the oil from the algae, but it depends on the cost and your technology to extract them.
And also possibly on the strain of the algae.
Yes.
Do
you must have your own nicely stain.
Yeah. But what kind of protection can you make for this sort of process? Do you get a patent on the particular strain of algae, or is it all on the production? What would be intellectual property for this? Is it mostly the production technique, or is it the algae itself?
Both.
Okay.
Algae itself. We have our own algae itself, and the production process also.
Okay.
We invent our technology that can extract oil without drying the biomass. We have the wet extraction technology.
Okay. So good. Bevan, did you have a follow-up or okay, great.
Yeah, the one is I saw in his one of his chart has the efficiency of getting the oil and as well as the cost of the oil in one of his chart. And,
yeah.
So where is he now?
Okay, this chart, and I took down our slides from here, so let me go back and find it. This was one of the earlier slides, probably at the very introduction.
Yes.
Oops. Was this it, or was it? Hold on just a second, okay? No, this is the Think Algae project. I think we need to go further back. Yeah, I'm. Can you find the slide? Because where TISTR is in the current technology roadmap is the good question, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably this one that has TISTR AEC at the top of the slide, and down in the bottom right you have the lab scale, where oil production, yield, and cost.
Yes.
So that the right-hand side increases and the left-hand side decreases, or the yield improves. So on that scale, where is TISTR right now?
Yes.
Near the bottom.
Yeah,
at the
near the
very
bottom. Yeah.
Okay. And is that close to the goal? Or do you want the goal to be a lot, needs to be up at the top, right?
Yes. No, this is our goal.
Okay. Okay, so
At
that's the goal.
the demonstration plant, we can decrease the production cost of the oil. I think actually in the laboratory you need around 20,000 baht per liter of oil. But after we research maybe 2 years, we can decrease the price of the oil into 1,800 baht. It means 10 times decrease in the cost and production cost. And the yield, we can promote the yield at around 20% of oil accumulation at lab scale, up to 30 and 40% in the demonstration plant.
Okay. The quality of the oil that you produce
it depends. It depends.
Meaning it can be high quality or it can be not so high quality.
It's not so high quality at the demonstration plant.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. We have a question.
I have a question in the back.
Coming around to somebody we can't see.
Can you see me?
Thanks for running with the microphone.
Thank you. I had a question. I had a question about, you had a slide in there about how you were making the Gnostic Balls, that algae, edible Gnostic Balls.
Okay.
Could you speak a bit to how those are like, how you make them uniquely from like anyone else, any other companies?
I couldn't quite get all of your question. This is the food stuff that's being made, right?
Yeah.
Yes. How do you?
And your question is basically what competitor it has, or what the edible Gnostic ball, right?
How do you make that? Yeah. How do you, I guess, have a competitive edge in making that?
Right. Okay. How do you make it, and is it a competitive? Will this be in the supermarkets next week?
I cannot tell you how can I make.
Is that process?
Yeah. This is a laboratory scale technical in innovation in our lab. We have our nice staff to. This is technology for form the edible Gnostic. You can buy from me. Not. Please do not try to do it.
I see. Don't do this at home. Okay. But do you think that this will be something that will eventually be either licensed out to a company to make for retail?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And between here and there, I guess the quality, the safety of the food production will be very important.
Yes,
we are
now.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Interesting question. Next question.
Oh, I had another question, if that's okay. Referring to the oils that you're producing, do you know what's like the chemical composition of those? Are those like fatty acids or like fatty acid methyl esters? Referring to like the biofuel.
The chemical composition of the oils that are produced, are they fatty acids, or what is the nature of the oil itself? And this is not necessarily fuel. This is the oil.
Yeah. It's oil.
So, would this be similar to something like olive oil, or would it be?
Yeah, it's a mixing of the fatty acid as oil.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I guess like specifically for the fuel, like which oils would you use for fuel? Like what's the chemical composition of those oils?
It's a middle chain of fatty acid. The C between 16 and 18. I can say you. I can say you.
Okay. All right. So the oil is obviously a hydrocarbon.
Yes.
And can you say whether it has lots of carbon in it, and so would have a lot of CO2 generated, or will it be relatively?
It's relatively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. We'll leave that at this. Thanks for your question. Next question.
It seems to me that the difficulty of having generating oil from algae is the price competition. Yeah. When the oil price goes down, then almost every project stops.
Yeah.
So the one of the problems with this kind of research really has been the price of oil.
Yes, yes. But I think from our design strategy, if we cannot go further with oil, we can switch all of our plant to produce protein, pigment. We just switch our stain depend on the purposes of the production or of the product. If I need to produce the high protein like spirulina, I can change the spirulina into our system. Or if we need to do astaxanthin or the pigment, we just switch the stain because all the technology can use together. Since water dewatering, cell breaking, or extraction also.
So at the commercial scale, that's very interesting. What you would do would be change the application and change the strain.
Yes. It's we design the system that durability is quite high. We need to switch. We can change.
So I think a lot of biofuel research in the United States sort of disappeared along with the advent of shale oil and fracking and so forth.
This is our nightmare.
Okay, but so far Thailand has continued to sustain research in this area.
Of course. Because I think the oil price is just the cycles, right? Maybe it's become more. I think it's more political rather than the facts.
Yeah. But making sure that you keep a research program going despite changes in politics sometimes is harder than dealing with changes in weather. Okay. Other questions? If you go back to where you were sitting, we can see you.
Okay. So would your algae also grow in an unimproved pond? Could one imagine a cottage industry that everybody has a pond in his backyard and filters out, grows the algae there and filters them out? Or does it always require this enormous capital investment?
I have to say, I'm having a hard time picking up your question. I'm having a hard time understanding it. Would you say it again a little bit slower? I think we've got some trouble with the audio on our side.
Okay. So would your algae also grow perhaps at less efficiency in unimproved ponds? So that you could imagine a cottage industry that people have a pond in their backyard and filter out the algae growing there without this great capital investment, of which you obviously have this.
If I'm understanding your question correctly, this would be whether this is going to be a very distributed production industry with lots of very small suppliers, like individual farmers, or would it be something that you would have giant algae plants that will be the most effective way of producing? Is that your question?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in case of the biofuel oil, it need to invest from the biggest company. But in case of the fertilizers and coffee, we can distribute in a small investor.
Okay. That's actually very interesting because it would enable farmers to be much more independent. But sure enough, for fuel production, economy of scale and efficiency of scale is a big factor.
Yeah.
Did that get your question?
Yes. The same thing is continuing in this vein. If you get the perfect algae and they escape into the polluted waterways, will they start algae blooms everywhere else in the waterways of Thailand?
Brianna, would you try restating the question? I really can't understand it here.
If algae escapes from these ponds and ends up somewhere else in Thailand, what could happen?
Okay, what happens if the algae escapes?
Okay. In our experience, once the algae escape from our pond, it die in the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really needs to be sustained in the production environment.
Need to taken care by one of us.
Do you have strains that are highly toxic? Do you have to worry about that with toxicity?
Yeah, we don't work with very that the sense that clarify the very toxic.
Okay. Okay. So you're not working with that.
Yeah, and I'm not working with that.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Question? Thanks very much. I'm sorry we're having a little trouble with our audio side. So while we're looking for other questions, let me ask kind of what's next for TISTR's research. You've been scaling up this production. Do you think that will be the main focus, is scaling up to commercial size now? Or will the next step in this really be looking for new strains of algae or improving the processing after the algae is grown? And you have all kinds of things that you can do.
Yeah. The first thing, we need to give more for the processing. We need to give more invention for the processing for another product or any kind of products. And of course, seeking the algae stain is our duty. We always collect. We love to collect the algae. We need to because I think that the Thailand atmosphere is quite nice for algae growing. We need to seek more excellent algae.
Okay. Do you see another alternative for this kind of? Are there any alternatives to algae in regard to the versatility, in regard to both for food production as well as fuel production?
We hope in some day we can use the algae as a platform of the hormone production, the plant hormone production, or some thing concerned to the medicine, far away from the food. Okay. We try to establish the platform that can utilize the algae as the medical factory or the vaccine or something.
So let me just say a couple of words, because Thailand is in an unusual position in regard to research like this. The country can't afford to fund just huge amounts of basic research. They really have to make choices early about what kind of technology roadmaps, technology directions will be appropriate for the country's economy, what will be the best for the country's economy. And it's exciting to me to see so much work being done in biological products and processes without the extremely expensive kind of approaches that you see in other countries. So that from the very beginning, TISTR has really looked at the economy of production and has looked at these real practical problems about how would you ever bring this out into the real world, right?
Yes.
So I'm really glad that we could feature your research today, Dr. Sirisattha.
Yes.
And, do we have other questions? If not, I think we can go ahead and call an end to this session. I almost forgot. I want to say thanks to the Minor Foundation for providing us with some financial support of this series. And we hope that you will stay outside and network and meet each other. We'll talk here in the conference room here for a little bit longer and do our own networking. Are there other questions? Brianna, anyone else? Back.
I have one more question, and it's related to, so if you could, is there any, problem that you think that biotechnology could solve to reduce your operating costs?
So how could biotechnology approaches help to help to reduce the costs of operation? Could you engineer a strain that's...
I think it can, but we cannot use this technology alone. We have to integrate from the various fields. Right? We need to engineer. We need engineering. We need any kind of technology that can be so. I think biotechnology is very excellent technology, but we cannot stand alone to solve that kind of problem.
Right. Have you explored any kind of new enzymes to process the algae into oil and into fuel?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Because I think that there is some work in that, but that's also extremely expensive right now.
Yes.
Okay. Megumi, that's you back in the back. I think you had a question.
I have a question. This is Walter. Now, what is
Walter. Okay, Walter.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What is the most critical scientific problem that you're facing that would help you to move forward?
So what's the biggest scientific problem that's a barrier to moving forward, a challenge in moving forward?
Is how to maintain the aggressive of the growth of the algae. You know, I think in the real world, algae cultivation concentration is quite low compared to other microorganisms. If you can cultivate the algae at 3 grams per liter in 2 or 3 days, I call you God. This is a barrier. We need to develop the high density cultivation of the algae biomass production.
Okay, because if you don't have an accurate flow, the algae dies. What happens?
Yeah.
Okay, that's sort of what I thought. Okay, that's a great question too. Is there other questions from the floor?
I don't see any hands going up. So I think that might be all.
Okay, great. Then I want to thank everyone for coming. If you would, please join me in thanking Dr. Sirisattha for a very interesting presentation.